I am 78 years old, and if you look at the statistics, I am living the final stretch of life. Almost every time I meet someone new or run into an old acquaintance at the grocery store, the same question always comes up. They usually lower their voice and look at me with sympathy before asking, "Paul, don't you ever wish you had a partner? Doesn't the house feel lonely with just you in it? Wouldn't it be wonderful to have someone beside you while you drink your morning coffee?" I understand where those questions come from. Society has taught us that being alone is a problem that needs to be fixed. We are constantly told that happiness means finding someone, settling down, and sharing our lives with a partner. So, 5 years ago, when I was 73, I decided to listen to that advice. I opened my home and made room for someone in my life. And today I'm going to tell you something people rarely admit in polite conversations. I have never felt more exhausted, more anxious, and more emotionally drained than I did when I was in that relationship. Let me take you back a little. My wife Jessica died when I was 68. She succumbed to cancer after 2 exhausting years of hospital visits, treatments, and long nights spent holding her hand as she slowly slipped away. When she was finally gone, the silence inside our house felt almost unbearable. It wasn't ordinary quietness. It had weight. Every room seemed to remind me that she was no longer there. For the first year, I felt like a stranger in my own home. I would sit in her favorite chair and stare at a television that I hadn't even bothered to turn on. I felt like a diminished version of the man I had once been. But time has a strange way of changing things. Slowly, the sharp edges of grief began to soften. I started creating a routine for myself. I had spent my career as an engineer, so structure came naturally to me. I converted part of my garage into a small woodshop. I began waking at 5:30 every morning, making a pot of black coffee, and sitting on the back porch while the sun came up behind the trees. There was no television, no news, and no conversation. Just birdsong, cool morning air, and the steam rising from my coffee. That silence became my sanctuary. I started making furniture. I finally repaired the staircase that had been squeaking for years. I picked up history books I had wanted to read for decades but had never found the time for. Then, sometime around my 72nd birthday, I realized something I hadn't expected. I wasn't overflowing with excitement or happiness. I didn't need to be. I had found peace. But apparently, the world has trouble accepting an older man who is perfectly comfortable by himself. My daughter Elizabeth is a wonderful woman, but she has always been a fixer. Whenever she came over for Sunday dinner, I could see the concern in her eyes. She would tell me, "Dad, you're isolating yourself. People need people. You're going to spend the rest of your life hiding in that garage." Then my neighbor, Mrs. Morgan, got involved. One afternoon, while I was collecting my mail, she told me about her friend Diana. Diana was 70, a retired nurse, energetic, outgoing, and apparently drove a red car. "You have to meet her, Paul," she insisted. "I think the two of you would be wonderful together." When enough people repeatedly tell you that something is missing from your life, eventually you start questioning yourself. I began wondering whether the peaceful life I had built was actually just loneliness disguised as contentment. Maybe I wasn't happy. Maybe I was simply stuck. So I agreed to meet Diana. Our first coffee was genuinely enjoyable. She had a lively personality, a contagious laugh, and plenty of energy. She asked about my woodworking and complimented my shirt. For the first time in years, I felt noticed. Not as someone's father. Not as a widower. But as a man. We went out again. Then again. By the 4th month, we had become a couple. Everyone around us seemed delighted. My daughter was relieved. My neighbors were pleased. "Paul has a girlfriend. Good for him." And for a while, they were right. Diana and I went to theaters, discovered new restaurants, and explored places neither of us had visited before. I started dressing more carefully. I shaved every morning. For a little while, it felt like I had been given another chance at youth. It wasn't one enormous problem. It was hundreds of tiny changes. The first was my phone. Before Diana, my phone was nothing more than a useful device. It sat on the kitchen counter until I actually needed it. After Diana entered my life, it became a constant source of obligation. She loved texting. "Good morning. What are you doing? I'm thinking about you. Look at this." If I didn't answer within 20 minutes, my phone would ring. "Is everything okay? You didn't answer me." Soon, I was carrying that phone everywhere, even into my workshop. I could be completely absorbed in sanding a piece of wood, enjoying one of those peaceful moments I had come to value, and suddenly my phone would start buzzing repeatedly. My body would tense. My concentration would disappear. A quiet anxiety began following me around. For the first time in years, I no longer felt like I was in charge of my own time. Then there was the issue of energy. At 73, you learn that energy isn't unlimited. It is more like an old battery, it still works, but it doesn't hold a charge the way it once did. I treasured my afternoons. After lunch, I liked to sit quietly, read for a while, and sometimes close my eyes for a short nap. That was how I recovered. Diana had a completely different rhythm. She always wanted to be doing something. She wanted outings, trips, dinner parties, and constant activity. Whenever I came home tired, with aching knees and a foggy mind, I would tell her, "Diana, I really need a quiet day today." Her response was usually the same. "Paul, we're running out of time. We should be out there living." Those words made me feel guilty for wanting something as simple as rest. So I started agreeing to things I didn't really want to do. I said yes because saying no created tension. I smiled and pretended I was enjoying myself, while internally I was becoming more and more exhausted. Then came the subject nobody likes to discuss in the early stages of a relationship. Money. I had worked for 40 years. I saved carefully. I lived within a budget and knew exactly what I could afford. But maintaining our new lifestyle was expensive. There were restaurants, trips, activities, and one plan after another. Eventually, I checked my bank account and felt something I hadn't felt in a very long time. Fear. I was watching my savings disappear. I tried to explain my concerns to Diana, but she didn't seem to understand why it bothered me so much. And that's when I realized something important. At 73, you don't have an unlimited number of opportunities to start over. What you've built over a lifetime matters. Your health matters. Your money matters. And most of all, your peace matters. Slowly, I began losing all of those things. I wasn't sleeping as well. I was constantly tired. My routines had disappeared. Then one day, the truth finally became impossible to ignore. My house no longer felt like my house. My schedule no longer felt like my schedule. My life no longer felt like my life. In trying so hard not to be alone, I had somehow managed to lose myself. So I ended the relationship. When Diana left, the silence returned. But this time, the silence didn't feel painful. It felt like relief. It felt like walking through my front door after being away for a long time. It felt like coming home to myself. And strangely enough, it was one of the most beautiful feelings I had experienced in years. Today, I'm 78. I haven't dated since Diana, and I don't intend to. Not because I hate relationships. Not because I believe everyone should live alone. But because I finally understand something that took me many years to learn. Being alone and being lonely are not the same thing. Loneliness drains you. Peace restores you. Today, my life is full, not because someone else is constantly beside me, but because I am comfortable with my own thoughts, my own routines, and my own rhythm. At this stage of life, I have discovered that peace can be worth more than money, excitement, or even companionship. And when you've spent decades building a life, protecting that peace may be one of the wisest things you can do.